to own it. Just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here. Oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you.
Well, it's my birthday episode. Today's my birthday.
Happy birthday, Sparkle. Hey, everybody. Happy birthday to Sparkle.
It's a big one, but we don't need to say the actual age.
She's 29.
So, okay, you have a cool show coming out. The producer of my show, by the way, Drew, who doesn't know that you're the producer of Everything
Most
Sparkle?
people probably don't have any idea that I produce the Everything Sparkle show.
Because you're the great and powerful Oz behind the scenes.
Right. Just a big clown.
But it goes so much work, and you're the one that does it all. And last year we won the Producer of the Year award.
Yes, that was an awesome thing. Producer of the Year award was a very, very nice privilege to get. Yes.
And so now, with you being behind the scenes all the time, you're doing your own show where you're in front of the camera.
Yeah, I didn't really want to do that. That kind of worked against me. It was like I was trying to fight it hard. I did not want to host the show. But it ended up working that way. The show is called Radical Christianity, and it is a faith-based talk show. Basically, it's going to focus on what's going on in the Central Valley with the faith-based community and how God has an impact. So,
I love that. So you have people from different churches. Like, who all are you going to be interviewing?
we're going to be interviewing a lot of different people, pastors and things. I don't want to spoil all the guests before we go, but it's going to be great.
But you do more than like what I do, because you tell jokes, you have a band. Tell us a little bit about that.
We kind of follow what you might call the Tonight Show style format, where we open up with a monologue. There's going to be a live band. I try to keep it lighthearted. There's a lot of tongue-in-cheek, you know what I mean? So, it's got a live studio audience feel, so.
Because some people might think a religious show is going to be a little bit snoozy.
Well, for some people, it will be, because they're just not going to care. But you know what I mean. But
it's not going to be just the dry,
It's not like going to church, and it's not going to be the 700 Club.
That's what I was thinking of, like all of those, like that kind of show. No, that's great. Well, that's exciting, and then it's cool to see like the different churches that we have, because we have a big faith community.
Actually, the Central Valley is probably the largest concentration of churches and a nice variety of different denominations.
So I want to know, is it going to be all the different denominations? Like, are you going to bring in like Seventh-day Adventist?
I'll tell you, one thing I want to do, is I want to actually try and do this thing that we'll just drop it here. All right, I want to do a thing called the Denomin Olympics, right, where we take different denominations and pit them against each other in competitions.
Oh my goodness!
So like church against church, denomination against denomination, tug of wars, bag races.
Well, that's not going to be boring at all. Oh my goodness, that's fun.
And I don't know how we're going to pull that off yet, but I definitely want to do that. So.
Well, that's exciting. I mean, I think it's really cool that you are going to do the different denominations, because some people want to just stick to one.
Yeah, all of them.
You're going to be open-minded to it all.
Yes. So, with that said, being that's your birthday episode, we're going to flip the script for everybody.
Oh my goodness, what does that mean?
That means we're going to change chairs.
Musical chairs on my birthday.
And it's time to interview the great, lovely, and talented Sparkle Susan. Interviewed on your own show.
This is the first time that's happened.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be the last, because I'm not a very great interviewer. I like to let the guests talk. So the reason why we're doing this is it's your birthday episode. It's your birthday, and everybody needs to tell you happy birthday. But we're going to basically focus on a trip that you took to the Pistachio convention.
Yeah, so in Carlsbad, it was great. It was a few days of fun-filled events, and I got to interview a lot of cool people. Only person I missed was Liang from Liang Can Cook, because he was there, and he was awesome, of course. But I got to interview lots of other great people.
Okay, so we have these interviews. We have a handful of them. So who is the first interview, and what was coolest about it?
Richard Matoian. So he is actually the head of the whole Pistachio American Growers, and he tells us about like all the stuff that they have going on, what they're doing, because it's the Central Valley. We have all of the nuts here,
We do have a lot of nuts here.
I knew you'd love that one. So, he really talks about like the vision and like how it's changed, how it's grown, all that. And I mean, I didn't even know what was going on. But I started working at a nut magazine.
We do mean the edible kind.
The edible kind. So I actually worked for a publication which was 7 different fruit. It was tree fruit grower, grape grower, nut grower, agribusiness fieldman, cotton grower, vegetable grower, and tree fruit. So that was our 7 publications. So we had to go into the trenches and learn all that. So it was really weird. I've been away from that for like 20 years. And then now to like see it full circle and what's going on with nuts, it was pretty interesting because I've been away from that world.
That's awesome. All right, with that said, here comes the first video.
Okay, so tell our viewers who you are and what you do.
Sure. My name is Richard Matoian. I'm president of American Pistachio Growers, and we're hosting this annual conference that you're at.
And what year is this? How many years have you guys been doing this?
We have been doing this, since I really came on board about 2007, 2008. It was our first years that we've been doing it, and every single year the group's been getting larger and larger.
Oh yeah, like this convention, for example, how many people are here? I heard the numbers was like huge.
Yes, we at least have 1,400 people here.
Wow.
So pretty incredible.
And you got some great guests this year. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So yesterday we had an economist, Dr. Marcy Rossell, and today we had Daymond John from the Shark Tank. And in between we had all kinds of other industry speakers on various topics of interest to the growers.
And so the numbers here at this convention have been growing, but what do you see in general with farmers? Right now we're facing a water crisis. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, we've had a lot of rain, we've had a lot of water, and a lot of that has just gone out to the ocean. We haven't saved it, we haven't stored it, we haven't found a mechanism to save it for future use, and it's very, very unfortunate.
Is there like a plan in mind to try to? Because I heard that, if we keep waiting for the government, that could just take ages. Is there any plan, any solution that we can work at together?
Look, if we had it my way, we'd be building dams, we'd be building storage, and we would be making sure that we're capturing this water. Unfortunately, I have very little say as a citizen in this state, and unfortunately, who's ruling the day tends to be more the environmental groups, tends to be more the people who just are more concerned about fish and other species and less concerned about growers and farmers and where their food comes from, unfortunately.
Have you seen growers decline because of this or just in general?
When I look at the number of growers that are out there in the state of California, and if I look, let's say, at a 5 or 10 year period, the number of growers are decreasing by total number, but there's still 69,000 growers in the state. So that's a good number. The average size grower in California is actually smaller than the national average. I think our average here is about 320 acres, whereas the national average is somewhere around 400 plus acres. So it's kind of interesting dynamics, but I think a lot of older growers and their children aren't taking over.
Right.
And many of them tend to be selling. And growers are getting larger and larger. And I think because of the regulations that we have here in the state, because of all that we have to deal with, I always call it a death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's not one thing that's causing growers to go under, but it's multiple things, and they're all just kind of adding up.
What changes have you seen? So since you've been on the board since about 2007, what changes have you seen with the American pistachio growers?
Well, fortunately, we're in an industry that is growing, so that's very, very positive. Beyond that, the fact that pistachios are becoming more known worldwide as a healthy, good-for-you snack, that's been very, very positive, and I think that's helped to drive some of the trends of consumption, which has been very, very positive. And I think beyond that, we have a lot more interest from people regarding growing pistachios as a crop in California. It's highly mechanized, and fortunately the returns have been positive, and we are working towards to make sure that they stay positive.
I love that. And then we have a mascot over here, but when are we going to get a commercial like the Planter Peanut guy and all that? We need him on a national commercial. Are you guys looking into ways of advertising? Like, how has advertising grown since you've been part of it?
Yeah, advertising obviously costs a lot of money, so we have to be pretty judicious about what we can do and where we spend our dollars. We've done quite a bit of print ads, but we haven't done commercials on TV just because they are costly. But we've done other types of things social media wise. We have some influencers, some ambassadors that we utilize to help try to get that message across.
That's awesome. And so any advice that you have for people in the Central Valley that are doing business, that are doing these things, any advice you have for them?
Well, I'd say for anyone who's a grower, you have to be smarter, sharper, and quick to pivot when you're dealing with growing, harvesting, and marketing a crop. It's just difficult in this state with all the regulations that we have to be the best that you can be because of all the regs that one has to deal with. But I would just say for growers, do your best, stick with it, educate yourself, learn how to work within the system, and find that crop or commodities that can do well, and maybe find alternative ways to market your product, and try to persevere as best you can in the economics that we're all dealing with.
What's some of the feedback you've heard from this? Because this is great for networking. This is great for these educational seminars. What's some of the feedback that you've heard over the years where someone's like, I learned that when I came that year to that, and I've used that. What have you heard? So
a big part of what we do here is help educate our growers about issues and topics within the industry. Just this afternoon, we have production seminars, so it's talking about pest diseases and insects that they have to worry about in the growing and harvesting of their commodity. So we have that going on this afternoon. This conference is also a great opportunity for people to get together and network, and for people to learn from one another about maybe what do you do on your farm, or what's worked and what hasn't worked. And so we find that there's a lot of family bonding and networking that occurs here. And when I say family, I'm not talking about someone being related to someone. I'm really talking about the bigger, broader Pistachio family, because we're still very much a specialty crop here.
Exactly.
Right? And so there's not as many growers compared with other commodities. So it's still very much a family dynamic that we see and experience here.
And there's not that much of a competition because we're all under the umbrella of the American pistachio, right? So that encompasses every grower, right?
We represent growers, about 860 growers.
Okay.
We represent all the processors except for one within the industry, and that's fine. But our goal is to work to collectively come together to work on issues that are being faced by the industry. And Lord knows there's lots of issues that we got to deal with.
There's a lot. And then how's the international market on pistachios?
So, when you look at the numbers, 65 to 70% of what we grow is exported outside the U.S. So we really need those export markets in order to get our products sold. And those export markets continue to grow. Our number one destination is Europe. Number two would be China and Hong Kong. And so we're continually working to try to develop those markets even more and to look at new markets like Africa and Middle East as one part of the globe, India as another, Vietnam is another area to be focused on. Southeast Asia in general is a very good opportunity for us. So we're looking for anywhere and everywhere we can market our product.
What's the shelf life of an average pistachio?
So when they're initially brought in from the field, they're dried down to about 6% moisture, and in that level, they're able to be stored for at least a couple of years. So that's good. Once you roast them, though, and salt them, and package them, then they have about a 6-month shelf life.
Which is great, and that's why this is one of my favorite gifts to give around Christmas time, because you could have them, you put them in your car, you eat them when you're hungry. So
Yes, very portable, and they can certainly weather a lot, whether they're sitting inside your hot car or if they're just sitting on the pantry. They can last a while.
So what's the next step? Are you guys trying to get them in? You know, you have those little, like, nowadays everybody's on some diet where they just want a fruit, a veggie, a nut, a cheese, and stuff like that. Do you guys get in those, or is someone out there kind of marketing that and branding that and really branching out?
It's certainly an area we'd love to get into because we have all the good properties that people who are on the go lifestyle, like yourself, are looking for,
Yeah.
right? So you're looking for protein on the go. We have 6 grams of protein in a serving, and a serving is 49 nuts. We have 3 grams of fiber in that serving, and we also have 290 milligrams of potassium. Now,
Wow.
people think of banana with the potassium, but we have just as much potassium as a medium-sized banana. So we have a lot of good properties. The issue is, and the reason why you don't always see us in a lot of these fruit and nut mixes, is that our price point, it tends to be higher. And because that price point, they're always looking for the cheapest nut
And
to
they
put
have
in
to
there.
be higher. There's no way around that.
Right.
Because of how much it takes to,
Yeah, how much it takes to grow, the demand that we have around the world, certainly. So, our price point is just a little bit higher than the other nuts. But for the people who know and appreciate us, we're certainly a nut that people are focused on and purchasing.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Thank you, Sparkle. Thanks for having us, and it's great to have you here.
All right, well, that was interesting. That was really interesting. Now, I would say that that was nuts.
So now we have something really cool. We have Catherine is next, Miss California. And she was a delightful girl, just really cool, charismatic, and she's going to go places. So
Awesome. So let's check that video out.
okay, so I am here with Miss California. So tell everybody your name.
Hi everyone, my name is Catherine Liang and I'm honored to be Miss California 2022.
So how did you get pegged? Because I know it's such an arduous process. I've interviewed people from our local town that were running. Tell us about the process.
Absolutely, so Miss California is through the Miss America Scholarship Organization, which is the world's largest scholarship providing org for young women. And I actually got my journey started about 9 years ago when I was 13 years old. I was as shy and awkward of a teenager as you could possibly get. But I really fell in love with the idea of, being financially independent and financially literate, but then also pursuing my scholastic endeavors. And then flash forward 9 years, I came back from, you could say, pageant retirement and joined the program as Miss San Francisco and then became Miss California.
Wow, so a 9-year retirement. So what were the kind of pageants that started? When did you actually get into it?
Yeah, so I started with the Miss Sonoma County's Outstanding Teen program, and that was part of my hometown.
So how old were you when you got started?
13.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was going to get you out of your shy awkwardness
Oh
really
my
quickly,
gosh,
right?
Yes, I literally sat in the back of orientation in the furthest corner, away from anyone, didn't say a word, but over time I think I just realized everyone wanted to, hear your story, and they weren't looking for the perfect pageant answer, and so I think that really helped to get me out of my shell.
And what about your ethnic background and representing that community? How has that helped you and propelled you in this?
It is honestly, and probably will be, the biggest honor of my entire life. So I am Chinese American by birth, and to be able to represent a state like California, which has such an incredible and vibrant Asian American community, is just, there are no words to be able to encapsulate that. And I know the SAG Awards were yesterday, and we had the first Asian woman, female lead, actually win. We actually had the first female Asian woman win one of the awards, and it's just so amazing to see how much the AAPI community is banding together and making waves of difference.
That is so awesome. And what's got to be great, and I'm sure it's changed over time. Back in the day, we just thought, oh, you just have to be pretty, that's it, to be in this. And now it's so much more. You have to be smart, you have to be talented, you have to be all these things. And so what was that like, just showing all of your skill sets and really honing into that?
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing that really drew me to this program, because I will be the first to admit, I I suck at makeup, I suck at hair, I have no fashion sense whatsoever. My natural state is sweatpants. But I think the program enables young women who come out of their shell and show, you know, you don't have to be one-dimensional. You don't just have to be a great student or just a dancer. You can be everything and anything that you want to be. And as Miss California, I am, I guess, living proof of women who can. I am a financial analyst by trade, and then Miss California in my other 9 to 5.
And I love that too, because I've actually talked about this subject on my show about women in finance and math, and how like when I was in school, I wasn't great at math. And now like Danica McKellar, she wrote that book, Math Doesn't Suck, and all that. So now women are really coming into their math stuff, and I'm wondering what that's all about and why. Like, how did you gravitate towards math?
So I actually started in a program called Girls Who Invest, and I thought their mission was just so empowering. They wanted by 2030 for 30% of the world's assets to be managed by women private wealth managers.
Really?
Yes. It's an ambitious goal, but I mean, if you look at the financial industry, I worked on a team with 13 guys, so heels and you know, like makeup was not a very common thing there. But I think women bring a certain empathy that the client service industry really needs, and it's amazing to be a part of that legacy right now.
I love that. Okay, so what's the plan now? What's the next step?
Yes, well, I still have a couple more months of my term as Miss California, so I'm still boomeranging around the state. But, you know, my long-term goal is to be able to use my scholarship dollars, which I want about $23,000 worth of scholarships for higher education. And I want to go to pursue my MBA abroad and really leverage my culture of being Chinese American and being that bridge between California and the rest of the East. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And then the next competition is for Miss USA?
So I actually competed for Miss America in December in Uncasville, Connecticut. It was so cold, so very similar to what California is going through right now, a bit of a blizzard. But it was so incredible, and the current winner, Grace Stanky, she was Miss Wisconsin. She is another definition of a woman who can. She is a nuclear engineer.
Wow, I love hearing about that.
Yeah, she's an incredible young woman and one of my closest friends throughout the entire program.
Really? So you guys stay in touch, you guys stay for, it's a friendly competition.
Oh yeah, 100%. We FaceTime pretty much every single week, and we text each other live updates. She actually just jumped out of a plane and did a parachute dive today, so it was really cool to watch her do that. So
that is so exciting. Well, I am proud of you, and I can't wait to follow you and see everything you do. What is your Instagram?
My Instagram, my personal is Catherine_Y_Liang, Liang, and then if you want more Miss California content, you can go to Miss America CA.
Thank you so much for letting us interview today. Well, how do you feel about the Pistachio Convention? This has got to be like a switch for you.
Obviously going nuts for it.
I love it.
joke that they should have picked my dad as Miss California because he is an absolute pistachio nut fan. So this is so cool to be a part of this convention and learn about one of the largest growing industries that we have in California. That's what I love about being Miss California, is representing all of this amazing, like industrials that we have, not just in tech, not just in entertainment, but in agriculture.
And you came from an agriculture pretty much community.
I did. I came from the wine country, so I am a Sonoma County girl. So I'm very proud of my roots.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
That was a great interview with Miss California. So she's kind of cute. Did you give her my number? just asking. All right. So who's the next interview?
So we have an NFL star, and he actually graduated from Fresno State, played football there, and now he actually is in Atlanta, and here he is. Thanks for watching Everything Sparkle. I am Sparkle Sujan. We are with CVC Solutions, smoking their cigars, and I am here with
Mykal Walker. Nice to meet you guys.
Oh my gosh, so your first time at the Pistachio Convention. Tell us what your thoughts are on it.
Honestly, definitely like not in my world, not in my bubble, but I mean, it's great. I mean, I met some great people out here, played golf for the first time. I mean, having a good time.
Wow, so tell everybody what you do, a little bit of background.
So I played for Atlanta Falcons, went to Fresno State, go Dogs, got drafted in 2020, and now I've been 3 years with Atlanta.
And so what's the plan now?
Shoot, I mean, the plan now is try to get this next bag. You know, I got to get the next contract. I got one more year on my rookie contract and try to perform, try to be good on the team, find a new team that likes me, and go over there and make the generations good for life.
That sounds stressful and like a lot of work.
It's kind of just a lot of pressure, but at the end of the day, I've been playing football since I was 6, so it's just kind of what I do.
And what was it like launching this big career during COVID?
Oh, it was so weird. I mean, there was no fans in the stands. Like it kind of felt like practice. You know, you go out there, there's another team, but there's nobody in the stands. You can hear everything everybody says. Like it's kind of hard to get the energy up. So it was weird. Really
What's
strange.
the camaraderie that you have with your teammates now versus like when you were playing for the Bulldogs?
It's a lot different. In college, like those are my guys. I go everywhere with them in college. We live together, we eat, sleep, do everything together. Get to the league, it's kind of like get yourself ready. When we're together, like we're a team. Everything's good. But that family you get in college, you don't really get that in the league.
Do you stay in touch with them? Like, what's the camaraderie like now? Do they come and see you play?
Oh yeah. I mean, I got so many friends from Fresno State who, like it's nothing.
Did you get the plug on tickets and be like, hey, bro, I'll hook you up? Or
yeah, it's one of those, like if you tell them all the time, like if you want to come out here, I'll take care of your tickets. I'll take care of you can stay at my house, but you got to pay for your plane ticket. So other than that, I got you.
That's so cool. And so what was it like going, that's a big transition, college pros like that, and then like a salary, all of a sudden having a salary. How did that work?
Oh, man, it was insane. I mean, just when you leave Fresno State, like you just realize like that's only like the first step to getting in there. There was all-star games, there was the combine, there was the draft, there was going into camp for the first time, and when I came out in 2020, there was no rookie mini camp. So they gave all the rookies we got that year 7 days, and then after 7 days, we went right into camp. Like,
so it was like this going in the trenches.
Like right away. I'll never forget, I mean, my third day out there, I had Julio Jones in coverage, and I was like, there's no way I have to guard Julio Jones. Like, there's no way.
Wow. How did it happen so fast like that?
It just, the COVID rules, I mean, they made sure they cut everybody down. So instead of having 90 men in camp, you can only have 80. And then there's just like, they didn't know they were going to have an NFL season, so everything just kept getting pushed back. Then they said, okay, we're having a season, we're starting this date. They didn't move that date. So you really had 1 week as rookies to get ready, and then we got thrown in the fire.
So are you having fun now with it, now that like COVID's a little bit lifted, all the bands, are you now starting to enjoy it?
Oh, I love it. I mean, it's so much different. I finally get that NFL, like real life NFL experience, so we got all the fans in the stands, you got all the pregame stuff, all the, the tailgates you hear outside. And, when you drive up to a stadium, there's so many people out there like waiting for the bus to get in. So it's really fun.
And you're so cool. You have like this like hometown, I love your vibe right now. And like, how is it? Because I mean, you're here, and I think it's an honor that we have you here at the Pistachio Convention.
Appreciate that.
How does it go with like saying what you're going to say yes to and no to? Because you have a really busy schedule. So how do you like say, you can say no to something and people are like, oh, he's a big shot, he's going to say no to that, but you're really legitimately busy. How do you balance that? Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's just like, my biggest thing was like kids, if any kids ask me for something, I'm always going to try to get that done. Anybody who asks me for a favor, it's like, it's not about like, I don't think like I'm any different from anybody else. Like the one thing I realized about being around guys in the league, they're just like everybody else. I mean, I've talked to Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, like those, the big time names, and those guys are like the coolest guys in the world. They just, shake your hand like everybody else, talk to you, do things for you. So I think for me, it's just if I have enough time to do it, I'm going to do it. So, do you mentor anybody?
Well, I kind of took, so my linebacker they drafted underneath me, Troy Anderson, I like that guy. He's from Montana, shout out to Montana, but he's the only guy I've ever met. I've never met anybody from Montana besides this guy. So he's just like, my younger guy, took him in, kind of showed him the way, and I mean, I think he's a hell of a player, so that's about mentor that I get to. Not too much, just kind of giving the hits here and there.
Who was the best mentor for you going into all this? I know you said they're all like the homies now, they're all cool with them. Was there somebody that you really like, if there's like a dilemma tomorrow, who are you going to call? Oh,
I got two of them. So Daymond John and Foye Oluokun, they both these guys got big time contracts, different teams. And it's just, I mean, they took me in, no matter what I needed. They drafted me to take Foye's spot. They literally told him, like, hey, this guy's here to take your job. And this dude, like,
wow.
Before, when all the COVID stuff was happening, I didn't get paid for, like, months on end. Wow. And he would pay for me to train, and he would take me in. And Debo would have me come to his house. We'd train in the backyard. And, like, I was literally there to take their job. And these guys didn't care. They paid for me to train. They said, listen, if you're going to be on this team, like, we think we're good enough, you're not going to beat us out, but we're going to need you. So that's kind of the mentality that I brought with me. And even though I have my young guys with me, I keep that same mentality. I try to help them out as much as I can.
I love that. Where did you grow up in?
So I was born in Fresno. I grew up in Sacramento with my mom, and then my dad was living in Vacaville. So I go back and forth from Sacramento to Vacaville.
And when you were deciding colleges, what was making Fresno State the deciding factor?
So actually it didn't. So I had a long story, but I'll keep it short. So actually I had offered to San Diego State. I wanted to go bigger, go bigger places and stuff like that. So I couldn't wait too long, and basically, like, they told me I can come the following year on a full ride, but I didn't want to sit out of football. So I went to a D2 school, Azusa Pacific University in Pasadena area, And
I went to the sister school. I graduated from Fresno Pacific. That's funny.
Yeah, I was on to the Pacific. 3 semesters, and I was like, look, coach, I gotta get out of here. I got.
Do they even have a football team?
No, they cut it.
Oh my
They cut the
God! I
program.
imagine. I was like, wow.
They cut the program. So I played 2 years of football there. Then I left in the spring semester. Went to Fresno. I got to Fresno because I was at a private Christian school. A lot of my classes didn't count.
Me too.
So they dropped all my GP, all my stuff down. I didn't get into Fresno, so I went to ARC.
Wow, you
This
didn't
is
get
all
in.
like,
Wow,
yeah.
okay.
So I went to American River College, ARC, for a semester. Took 2 classes, got 2 Bs, and then Fresno got me in. So I went to Fresno. 2017, I'm at Fresno State. I'm playing. I'm in the 1-2s, rotating in. Think I'm going to start that year. They come up to me in the middle of practice, like, "Hey, you're ineligible." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I guess if you transfer from a D2 to a D1, you have to sit out for a whole year."
No, that
So
sucks.
2017, I go in and thinking, I'm play 1 year, 2 years, and once in the league. After that, I have to bring my red shirt. No scholarship for a whole semester until I'm eligible again. I can't get a scholarship. So it was like the worst but best year of my life.
You had like every obstacle. That is crazy.
Yeah.
You are the best mentor. How many people have that many obstacles?
Yeah. So luckily, it all worked out. Came on 2018. They changed my position, so I played a position I never played before. 2018, and kind of went kind of big that year, and then entered the draft. If you don't sign an agent, you can come back. So I came back to school, and then played 1 more year, and then got drafted in 2020.
Wow, what a story.
Yeah.
That must have been a lot of, were you like scared every time, like this is it, I'm not even gonna get the NFL life, like I'm so like.
I mean, I think my freshman year of college, like every day I was staring, I was in an all guys dorm, just staring at the ceiling, like there's no way I'm here. Like I'll never make it out of the school. And then I got out of the school, I drove all down to Fresno, like I'm here, and they're like, yeah, you're not ineligible, you can't play, your GPA dropped. So then I had to go down to ARC, and then no one wants to go back and move with their parents. Like I had to go back and move with my mom for a semester.
Wow.
And then after that, it was like, every step of the way, it's like, I don't know if I'm not going to do this. And then I get to, even when I did make it big, it was an all-star game. They make me play in a different position. I went to the East-West Shrine all-star game for college football. They made me play a different position I don't play. So I was like, okay.
How did that go?
Yeah, it went pretty well. It went pretty well. They let me go back and forth and rotate it. So I played pretty well there. And then I went to the NFL Combine. I'm out of Fresno State, so I'm with all these like big-time names, Chase Young and all those guys. And I had a pretty good combine, and next thing I got drafted. So it all worked out.
Wow, that is so awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on this show and coming out here today. What's like the next step? What's like your overall direction that you want to go when this is all done?
Like for me, I think football is a stepping stone. So I'm always looking for ways to make more money off the field than on the field. So even though like the farming thing, I'm not a farmer or anything like that. No, I know people in the industry and stuff. And I'm just kind of getting wisdom from them and seeing like what they do. And it could be anything. My overall goal, I want to get into real estate, and I want to own the land that people have to pay me every time they put a building on that land. So that's kind of what I'm getting into. But I just like coming to things like this so I can talk to people, market a little bit, and have a good time.
Well, thank you so much. It was so good to meet you.
Yeah, really good to meet you.
All right, so that was Mykal Walker. All right, so he put on a pretty little interview there for you. So what's next? Who we got?
So we have Krikor from CVC Solutions and Armenian from the Central Valley. That's rare. He also has his friend with him, so let's see what they got to say.
All right, let's check it out.
Thanks for coming on the show today, guys. So explain what you do. You guys kind of work together but separate. Apparently we need both of you. So you go first. Explain to us.
Yeah, hi. Well, I'm Krikor Nishanian. I started CVC Solution. We're an IT service provider, and we are housed out of Central Valley, out of Fresno. And our clients spread out up and down the valley as well as throughout multiple states.
And people need you because there's a lot of cyber problems going on these days.
Yeah, so what we do is we help businesses operate with their day-to-day IT needs. And so we come in, and for a business that doesn't have any IT specialists on staff, or if they do, we do co-management with assisting them.
Okay, and then you.
Me? Yes. I'm Larry Meador. I'm with DataStream Cyber Insurance, and we are a specialist cyber insurance broker. Over 40 carriers in our portfolio.
Wow.
And we work with partners like CVC, Krikor, known him for a long time. He's got a very wonderful business that he runs, taking care of all of the clients that he does. But, no technology is foolproof. And unfortunately, right now, small to medium-sized businesses are the ones that are getting targeted by the hackers.
Why is that? Is it easier to break in? Like, why is that? have you guys found that's?
Yeah, it's an easy paycheck for these guys. So if you're going to rob a bank, are you going to rob Fort Knox, or are you going to go rob Larry's credit union down there? It's kind of the same principle here. You know, small to medium businesses typically don't have the technical infrastructure that a large corporation does. Therefore, they're much easier to be broken into.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, unfortunately, if a small business gets hacked, you know, no technology is foolproof. And if they get hacked, roughly 60% of all small to medium-sized businesses are out of business within 6 months.
Wow, really?
So that's why cyber insurance is so vital for the small to medium-sized business, because it really protects them in the event of any type of security incident that might be out there.
Do you notice that happening a lot more in agriculture? I think this is really unique because, you know, all the farmers I know and people that run the big business, they're all older people. Like, you know, I got all my uncles do it.
Sure,
They barely understand using an iPhone or Facebook. So is that where you really kind of come in to help them and their staff understand what's going on?
Yeah, so we help the automation on the technology side. But what's most interesting is a farmer down the street might ask, you know, why would I need insurance? Why do I need security? Who's after me? Well,
right.
What's interesting is it's like the information isn't necessarily, you know, publicly needed, but they know that the data is needed by the end user. So the businesses where, you know, need to protect themselves and from exposure.
So it's the first step is they get with you because they're like, why do we even need to do anything on a computer anyway? We just write So then once they realize they need to get you, then they understand the value that they also need to secure that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's some education that has to be done because there's a lot of people when you talk to them, they're like, what is cyber insurance? Didn't know this existed.
Right.
So you have to kind of educate them on why it's important for their business because really cyber threats, cyber risk is probably the biggest risk that most small businesses face right now. So it's pretty important to have this, just as important as it is to have, you know, your CGL policy or a business owner's policy, or if you've got employees, workers' comp, all of that good stuff. You want to protect your business because, you know, these small to medium-sized business owners have invested a lot of blood, sweat, and tear equity in building their business, and you don't want to see that go away by somebody that coming in and lock up your network and you can't even access anything.
So if that happens, then where do you come in?
Where we come in is we can then come in and help take care of things with an incident response team. We also help our clients write an incident response plan so they know what to do if they do suffer some type of an incident.
Okay.
But an incident response team will come in, they'll kind of figure out what's going on, and then the insurance obviously pays for all of this because it's not inexpensive.
I bet.
Come in for a digital forensics team to come in and try to figure out what's going on. It can get pretty expensive.
And you know what we have also with bringing Larry into the picture and data stream. Most businesses have insurance brokers that they work with, and that's great. And they can bring in cybersecurity policies for insurance. But what DataStream specializes in working with us in terms of doing the risk assessment, try to mitigate not only the potential of having an incident, but also the cost of the insurance policy. So they can check the boxes that says, these steps will lower your insurance. And they work with us to enable some of those features to lower their insurance as well as better protect them.
And you've had this business for quite some time. So tell us about, you have both experience in farming and in technology. So tell us about that.
So I have worked for Famous Software. That was my first job out of Fresno State after I got my business degree, right? So Famous Software specializes in farming and ag enterprise ERP system. So they're the software that most of these operations run under. So we specialize in that. And then I worked for a big produce grower, packer, shipper, importer, exporter, gained additional knowledge there, and then soon after that, 20 years ago, started my business. And we started as just being a computer shop helping businesses with their IT needs. And 7 years ago, we had to turn the corner a little bit and focus on cybersecurity because of all the activity that we've been seeing. So
wow,
we've become
so you
specialists.
saw a lot of problems happen.
We had to deal with a few different incidents, yes, yeah.
And what are some of the things you've experienced that you've seen in some of these businesses that call upon you?
We've seen a lot, and we do a podcast and we actually talk with business owners that have gone through a cyber attack, and we're not talking techie, we're talking the human emotion that they go through. All of a sudden, you may have 50 clients, and all of a sudden you come in and everyone's been locked up. There was a breach called the SolarWinds breach about 18 months ago, and we've had MSPs that suffered as a result of that. And there was one on our podcast, you know, it was like it was 4th of July weekend. Everybody was getting locked up. I'm calling all my clients, trying to tell them I'm working on it, trying to figure out what's going on. And he said, you know, he got to the point to where he told his business partner, take the keys to my gun cabinet because I don't know what I'm going to do.
Wow.
But, I mean, you know, there's a lot of emotion, a lot of stress that comes into play when somebody's going through an attack like that. And, you know, it can destroy businesses, which in turn destroys livelihoods. Because like I said earlier, these guys have, and ladies, pardon me, have blood, sweat, and tear equity into these businesses. And you get it locked up and you don't have insurance, it could be very, very problematic.
So on your podcast, you guys educate people on the importance of it, that you need to have this step, that step. Because, I mean, dealing with a lot of growers, like I said, they're kind of stubborn. Oh, I don't need that. Oh, this, that, and the other. It's hard to get them to get, like, the newest technology of anything. Yeah. So what do they tell you now, some of your clients for a long time? Now they kind of understand, they kind of get
it? Same thing, you know, firsthand experience. You know, we've seen people have wired money to the wrong account because of hackers. So 50,000, 500,000. We've seen incidents like this come up firsthand how to deal with, and how do we secure those so that doesn't happen again. So these incidents are what enlightening people and sharing these stories of what we're seeing with others in the same community.
It's becoming a bigger and bigger problem.
Absolutely.
And do you think growers are kind of vulnerable to that out of every other type of like business? You see something with that or not really?
Everyone is a target.
Yeah.
Everyone is a target.
Everybody is a target. As long as the human is involved, you've got a weakness. Because phishing attempts, different things like that, that's how, you know, you were just talking about, you know, redirecting of invoices and payments and things like that. That's exactly how it happens. We had one that lost $200,000 just because they clicked on a link in an email.
Oh my goodness.
They sent $200,000 and then they found out, oh, that really wasn't the boss that sent that email asking for this $200,000 to get sent. So it's very real. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. It's a very, very real threat right now.
So how do people get a hold of you if they want to do business with you guys?
Yeah. Well, our website's cvcsolution.com. We are the IT solution in the Central Valley. So you can find us there, or you can give us a call at our main number, 708-4214, and area code 559.
There you go. And for us, you can go to datastreaminsurance.com, and we have all types of information there about our policies and everything else that we do. And of course, we've got phone numbers and all of that good stuff out there as well.
And my last question is, what happens is when they get a hold of you and they want you to revamp something they already have, or they want to switch insurances and be with you. Do you guys answer those kind of questions? Because a lot of people I know sometimes are not happy with their like POS or text system. They're not like, I just need it to rechange, and they want to change it. So do you come in, change that, and then?
Yeah, so where we start is we do a very high level risk assessment. That's where we start with the cyber insurance point to begin with. We can also do more extensive drill into their system to do more assessments of what systems are working, which are not.
Okay.
Yeah, same thing on the insurance side. It's just like your car insurance or your home insurance. You know, you put a policy in play, and then all of a sudden 4 or 5 months later, you're like, wait a second, I'm paying too much money. You start looking into it, you find a better policy. Well, you can cancel, get a prorated refund, and put a new policy in place. Cyber insurance is exactly the same way. And one of the big things that we see is a lot of people will say that they've got cyber insurance, but it's really a rider off of their business owner's policy or their commercial general liability policy. And unfortunately, we have to kind of tell them, you know, a rider really doesn't cover much. We kind of joke and say, you know, if you have an incident, it's going to cover the cost of bagels and coffee for the incident response team for the first couple of days, and that's about all it's going to do.
Yeah,
So.
something we found too in doing some of these assessments, working with DataStream, is we're finding that people are underinsured.
Yes.
So they're getting signed up under a certain policy that's not going to cover them, and that goes back to that same point.
Exactly right.
So DataStream has good eyes, they understand the industry, they know what's going on, and so we appreciate your help, Larry.
We appreciate you guys. We wouldn't be here without you all.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on my show today.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Marco.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, those guys were pretty cool. So what else we got?
So Aaron Salsedo from Duarte Farms.
Duarte Farms. Let's check it out.
So tell our viewers who you are and what you do.
So my name is Aaron Salsedo. I work for Duarte Nurseries. I have been at the nursery now for about 3 years.
Wow.
We provide services for growers on a large farming scale. So the when you first tell somebody that you work for a nursery, they go, oh, you go to the corner and I can buy some trees and things like that.
Yep.
So ours is a little bit different. We're very scientifically oriented. We're built around making sure that the genetics of the trees, they're virus resistant. For the most part, we do our best to make sure that we have a very productive tree specifically designed for the farming world. So it's large scale farming trees. It's, you know, anywhere from a minimum order of 1,000 trees to 100,000 trees. So when you're driving down the I-5 or the 41 or the 99, you see all these trees everywhere.
That's probably you.
It's usually from us.
Wow. And so what happens when people have like a disease or a pesticide? Do people try to take it back or act like it's your fault, or do they help you? What kind of things happen? Because I'm sure that a lot blows back on you.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing that we take back to, first we start as agronomists. So understanding how the trees work, soil sciences are involved. There's a lot of different little aspects to it. In fact, we were developed on trying to mitigate some of the issues with vines. So if about 15, 20 years ago, really since California started taking over as a large vine industry, and that, gosh, we've been doing vines for Duarte specifically an extended period, but ours was born out of creating a vine that is virus resistant. Now, when we get into issues now, yes, occasionally growers come and they say, oh, your trees and this and that, and so that's where the agronomy aspect comes in. So we'll go and we'll do research, we'll verify, we'll say, okay, you know, sometimes you don't get enough water, your soils aren't set up correctly, and we're always on the customer side. Obviously.
So you go there and actually assess the soil and everything. It's not just the tree that has to be perfect.
Yeah.
You actually check the elements and like, okay, this is good.
Yeah, we try to provide a well-rounded service.
That's great. Okay.
Yeah. So, it often blows back to us because we're sort of ground zero for that.
Yeah,
right?
now I imagine that would, yeah.
So our custom policies that we'll come in, and if it's something that we know that we're responsible for, or something that could have been prevented, or there's a bad batch of trees that come out of the nursery, we've done a really good job of preventing that, but we're always trying to help the grower. So a lot of times if it's something that we find that we're responsible for, we'll just replace the trees. And if it's something that's a continual problem, we've spent a lot of money and time researching to make sure that we stay on top of that. And we're really in the forefront of the industry on those kinds of policy implementations, making sure that our protocols are much further ahead than currently required. So that's something that we pride ourselves in doing.
And what about theft? Do you guys mark the trees to make sure that they're not stolen or they could be located?
It's a very quick operation. So let's say a grower calls me today and they say, you know, I want to plant 100 acres of trees,
right,
whether it be pistachios, almonds, walnuts, or vines. We'll say, okay, we'll set up a contract, we'll verify what varieties and rootstocks they want, particularly their area, soil type, water quality. We'll go through sort of the whole aspect of all these different parts before we deliver. Once we verify delivery, timing, and location, it's really, we load a truck, the truck shows up, they get planted within a day or two. It's a very quick process. So as far as, you know, controlling loss of product, we have a greenhouse, and it goes basically greenhouse, truck, farm.
Wow, okay.
So it's all in-house, which makes things a lot easier.
So what are some of the crops that we know about? I know you said where to find them, but who are some of the growers that you've helped that we know of?
So here we have a pretty wide range. Currently for the APG, I would say that, you know, we've probably touched almost every grower present at the APG at some point in time. This industry starting out early on was very small, and it has grown to what it is now.
How long has it been around, this business?
So the APG itself, gosh, I should know this. I went through their program and all that stuff.
Roundabout.
It's been at least 20, could be close to 30 years. It's been well over a decade.
Okay.
And this was built in an effort to help growers to market pistachios into exported markets, create awareness. And there's a lot of money that goes into making sure that legislature, you know, incoming laws, tariffs, everything protects farmers, because we're competing in markets where they don't have the regulations that we have. California, New Mexico, Arizona, little parts of, Nevada. They're all pistachio growers in this area. So being an American-grown pistachio means a lot when we go overseas. Our job is to make sure that we get that message to a lot of the buyers that, a large portion of this crop goes out to other countries. We're feeding, non-meat primary protein necessary societies. Well, pistachios, with the research we've done, we found out, it's a whole protein, serving sizes, mitigation of diabetes.
So you could be a vegan and sustain your protein content with that. Well, that's good to know.
Absolutely. So we pride ourselves in getting that information to people and making sure that not only the consumers are aware of the benefits of pistachios, but that helps the market as a whole.
How do you feel about the water crisis we're facing? How has that affected your business?
It's a critical point, and I can't not bring up the fact that John Duarte, the owner of the company, is now the District 13 Congressman of California. And in fact, now he's currently back in Washington, D.C., and he's on...
So he's fighting for us.
He is absolutely fighting for us. We worked very hard to make sure that he was able to get that position. It was very important, and he's very aware of those things. And to tie water into that, we're seeing currently large swaths of farmland that are suffering from SGMA. These, these laws and regulations that are coming into place are becoming a critical part of farming in California, that we're really, the information needs to be accurate. And that's what we're trying to make sure, is that they're not taking things away from a necessity within a global food production area. California provides, I would say, probably pretty close to 80% of, food to the world.
And in some different districts, counties, they're often getting almost paid not to farm. And the moment they go over a certain water quota, they're getting fined, penalized, and they can't sustain these crops. So
right.
Where do you see this facing?
What makes California special is our ability to be diverse in agriculture. We have, a specific type of soil, being a valley, being an old lake bed, basically, and having really nice farmland, which allows us to do all the things that we do to provide that. These regulations, every about 5 years, SGMA is something that we continue to talk about. There was some talk on it today. Keeping a close eye and making sure that these things are, they can get away pretty quick. People lose sight of agriculture these days. There's a whole generation of people that have never seen a farm.
Right.
And so that's part of us trying to make sure that people understand where their food comes from and the importance of water usage to make sure that their food is provided. Because you take that away, you start cutting water off, you start, reducing the size of farming. What happens is your cost of food goes really high. And we've never been in a position, because we've been so fortunate where we are and we've been so productive for so long, that we don't see these crisis food prices. For a couple of months, even with just a supply chain issue that we had, we saw shelves were empty. People were nervous. Stuff that you would go and you would say, I can choose from 50 different products on the shelf too. I hope that what I'm looking for is there. So making sure that we get these water issues under control is going to be a major part of making sure that California and national and global food supplies stay at a manageable level and are cost efficient for everybody, so that we can provide for food for the world.
And so what does the owner say that you said is now in that position? What is he like telling you what's going on behind the scenes and what's going on Sacramento, Washington, because he has a little bit of that insight?
Yeah. Well, he's just started. He's incredibly busy. I try to leave him alone now.
Right.
You get snippets here and there. He really asks me, what is going on? What are you hearing? What are the woes of farmers and those who have put me in this position?
That's great.
What do they need? And so my job is to really kind of, aside from providing grower services, to get to a grower and just have that conversation. What do you need? What are you looking for? Well, it's the same basic things. We have an excessive amount of regulation. Not all of them are bad. Some of them may be overreaching, but we're competing in a global market where we have a bit of a disadvantage. And so we're expected to farm at a certain level that it's not really an even playing field. But to sort of bring it back to the political side of things, he's gotten into some very important committees, agricultural committees. He's got several other positions and members that he's going to be continuing to work on those specific things so that we get research, we get accurate information, trying to keep things on the rails, and just really, it's really an information battle. There's a big disconnect there, like we were talking about earlier, making sure people understand where things come from. And so he's worked very hard. He's being very aggressive with making sure that he gets in positions where he can help in that area. So
isn't that funny, like with your background coming into this, knowing that, but then still learning something every single day about
yeah, farming is
constantly changing.
It's an evolving industry. It's something that I've really come to enjoy. And when you get into this, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I was farming garlic and onions in the deserts of California. And just last year I was going to dinners and meeting with politicians and raising money and fundraising for my boss. And so that is the more time I spend in agriculture, you really start to learn all the different pieces. And it's not just guys in trucks and boots and hats and out in the dirt fooling around. It's people who are providing a service. This is it really turns into a lifestyle. You commit to being somebody who's providing for more than just yourself. And then as a young guy, being the boots on the ground and learning all of the processes that go into getting the food from a farm to a market. It really is a very special thing to be doing, because at the end of the day, you're feeding people. I mean, that's one of the basic things that needs to be provided for, and
that we take advantage and for granted.
And not necessarily, I don't think, on purpose. I don't think people.
Right.
We live in a country where we've been so fortunate that we haven't had any wanting, really. And I don't want to exclude anybody. There's many people that are struggling and have a hard time with getting food, and so get food that it's available for everybody. It's a basic necessity of life, and to be a special thing.
Thank you so much for
having me. I appreciate it.
All right, so we got one more, right? So who is this one?
So Daymond John. And so I was only able to get one little quickie question in because he's so busy. He's a billionaire, and he went from like one plane to the next. Like, we were lucky to get him and in that short time. And he gave us some really good insights on business. And I actually had written them all down, and he wouldn't let us film that part because you have to kind of go there to see it. But here he is.
All right, let's see it.
So yeah, in the Central Valley, we face a water crisis where if farmers go above a budget, they get fined big time, and it's no longer lucrative to be a farmer anymore. What do you say to somebody in that situation?
I don't know how to answer that. I mean, I would be doing a disservice to your customers or your listeners if I come off the top of my head with some random thought.
But I know you face problems
There's
like
always
that.
shortages and stuff like that, but a water crisis is obviously something that is different than... If I can't get a certain amount of buttons made, nobody's dying.
Right.
Right? That's a way more complicated thing that I can answer.
I'm sure you've gone to your local government for some things when there's no problem. Not okay.
I have not. I don't think the government can save anything. I think that it's everyday entrepreneurs. What will
figure out a way to work?
What will solve that? Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what will solve that is going to be new technology and inventions and things like that. But it ain't going to come from the government. Right. The government is going to, by the time they're done, I mean, it's going to be 2050.
Right, it takes forever.
Yeah, I mean, right now, it's going to be everyday entrepreneurs like the farmers that are facing the crisis who are going to find new, innovative ways, and that's how it's always been.
Well, thank you so much, and your speech was so great. I loved every bit of it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I've seen him on Shark Tank. That was pretty fun. So what other cool things do you want to say about that day?
Well, he just came out with a kid's book called Little Daymond Learns to Earn, and he teaches kids about money and maybe they can become billionaire. So
that's
who
cool.
doesn't want to have a baby billionaire?
Well, you know, I think most girls want to have a billionaire daddy. You know what I mean? No, all right. So again, I want us to take a moment to say, Sparkle, I hope that your birthday is as amazing and magical as you deserve, because, you know, you're one of my best friends, and we do this show together for a while now, and we've been friends for a long time, and, you know, I just adore you, you know. So.
I appreciate you, and this is the best way that I could spend my birthday.
Awesome. So everybody, thank you for coming to the Everything Sparkle Show, and if you see Sparkle online or just want to stalk her, you know, go how to do that. Just make sure you give her a happy birthday, okay?
Summertime, it felt right drinking cherry wine with you. Just wanted to own it, just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here, oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you. Now I must confess here, oh, I must confess, dear, don't think I'm in love with you. Winter is coming and I don't know what to do, and there's no more use in running, no more running to you. And I don't want your loving, I don't wanna be just friends, knowing all this time we were playing pretend.
It's a mystery.